Recognize the gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for being here today. You know, I think it's important we consider the implications of expanding our nuclear arsenal, as the report suggests. And, you know, I know we've talked a little bit about how that could be contributing to a global arms race, and if so, what are the consequences of this? Given recent GAO reporting on DoD weapons acquisition programs and NNSA infrastructure efforts, it's kind of difficult to find a bright spot in the modernization of strategic forces. All indications point to substantial schedule slippages and cost overruns. And Senator Kyle, I know you said that it's our responsibility to educate the American people about the situation. But, you know, I wanted to follow up on my colleague, Mr. Carbajal's question. The commission seems to make very significant investments that would cost several billions of dollars in this environment and with competing national and international concerns. How do you reconcile the recommendations of the report with budget constraints generally?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Jacobs, no, we did not attempt to develop a cost estimate because most of our recommendations relate to capabilities rather than specific systems, so we can't do that yet.
Sure. I understand that you can't give us a cost estimate, but everything in the report is going to cost a lot of money. So did you take the constraint of generally the fact that it's not an unlimited budget into account when you were working on the report?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Jacobs, we took into account the fact that our military leaders have said routinely that this strategic deterrent is the #1 priority for them. And if that is the case, then we decided we would recommend what we felt was necessary and leave it up to you and the presidents, the executive branch, to determine precisely what the programs are and how they're to be funded.
Thank you. I also wanted to ask, you know, you mentioned in your testimony that this was a consensus report that all the commissioners signed on. Could you talk about what some of the points of contention were in the debate or where there were disagreements?
Well, thank you very much. But as you might imagine, we had lots of robust discussions, and we wrestled with every word in this report. That's why it is a consensus report. But in the end, because of our commitment to consensus, we were able to get there, and everybody wanted to get there. But on the specifics, no, that's within the four corners of our robust debate and discussion.
Got it, thank you. And lastly, you know, the U.S. land-based ICBM fields are often referred to as a sponge to soak up an opponent's nuclear forces. If that's the case, can you talk about why you think it's important that we modernize that arm of the triad as long as we have enough Minuteman missiles and silos? Why do we need to spend so much more money on the Sentinel program?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Jacobs, the fact is that our current system has deteriorated and aged to the point that we wouldn't be confident in the deterrent value of it on out into the future. When you see the photographs of these silos that house one of the most sophisticated weapons ever devised by man, you wonder. The walls are bulging, there's rust, there are wires that are no longer functioning properly. These silos have to be refurbished and new missiles put in them because the current system is rapidly aging out.
Sure, I understand that. If the purpose was to use them as a deterrent, to use them, but the idea is that the land-based part of the triad being referred to as the sponge is mostly so that our opponents would use their weapons to attack those instead of the other parts of our triad.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Representative Jacobs, the whole point is if the adversary believes that our system no longer functions, then they don't need to try to wipe it out at the beginning of a conflict. They have to believe that this is a fully functioning and very dynamic and vibrant system in order to be deterred.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida, Mr.